Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nurse Muriel. Let me start by saying welcome to my new subscribers. I am now at 684, y'all. 684, yeah, I'm climbing on up there. But welcome back to all my oldies but goodies. Y'all excuse I'm on this bumpy road leaving work, but I was leaving work tonight and I just had something on my mind. For those of you going in long-term care, I said, you know what? I'm always talking so good about long-term care. I don't want to just make it seem like everything is just all good, like there are no pitfalls. And today was an example. It just had me thinking because I'm working at this facility where I'm going to say apparently there must have been a lot of lawsuits, because when I tell you these people dot their I's and cross their T's several times about the same thing, and you only get that thorough you're that thorough from having gone through some things. When I leave there, I'm always thinking, did you remember to do this? Did you remember to do that? Because you really, in nursing, you really have to cover your behind. Like, you really have to document and follow up with everything and make notifications and do all that you're supposed to do. Because sometimes we get into a habit, but like being so used to things that patients do that we don't document it, or we don't we don't make such a big fuss over it because we're so used to them doing those things. But in reality, those things are abnormal behaviors, or abnormal behaviors, or a vital is abnormal vital, and notifications should be made. What made me think about this is I had a resident who had recently returned back from the hospital. Now, I normally don't work that floor, and when I got report the first time I worked with him, I got report that a patient just returned because she was having elevated blood pressures. And I don't know what went on during the course of the hospital stay, but when I worked with the patient had an elevated blood pressure. But it was also time for me to administer medication. So when I administered the medication, the blood pressure after about 45 minutes to an hour, it did come down. So I did the documentation that the blood pressure was elevated. However, BP medication administered, BP post administration, and I put what it was to show that the medication was working. Okay, so stopped working with that patient, didn't go back on that floor for like another 2 weeks. When I went back on the floor, I found out the patient had continuous blood pressures up to a point, I think, where they had a reading over 180 over something, and there was a PRN blood pressure medication one-time dose administered the night before. Okay, so now I'm working with the patient this day. For me, like I said, the night before, a PRN one-time dose was administered, but nothing was scheduled. Now, mind you, this person is only on one blood pressure medication twice a day, 9 and 9. So I administered the morning blood pressure medication to this patient, but I had learned, I checked the patient's blood pressure after giving the medication. And when I checked it after giving the medication, the patient's blood pressure, I waited like 35 minutes to an hour to check it. The patient's blood pressure was still like 170 over something. So I was like, oh no, something need to be scheduled, like something additional need to be done, because first of all, this patient was just sent out for this like 2 weeks ago and has consistently had elevated BPs since they've been back. And I'm wondering why, when they came back from the hospital, they wasn't started on anything additional. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they went to the hospital, they probably got some IV hydralazine or labetalol or whatever, and they sent them back once the blood pressure was stabilized, but they continue to have it. So why wouldn't you send them back with an order for something? So anyway, so I went ahead, because it was day shift and I know the doctors make rounds. I put it in the doctor's book that the patient has elevated blood pressure, was administered a PRN dose for BP last night, AM dose of medication not effective, AM dose of BP medication not effective. So I had just put it in the book, and maybe about 10 minutes later, I saw the physician on because the physician, nurse practitioner, PA, whatever, comes in every day. So I saw them, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm glad I saw you. I'm glad I'm seeing you. I just put in the book that so-and-so has an elevated BP. And I told him what it was. Don't you know, this person going to tell me, let me tell you, this person going to tell me, when did you put it in the book? I said about 10 minutes ago. They're going to say, oh, I looked at the book already. I didn't see it, so I'll address that tomorrow. Y'all, this is a whole, I'm not going to say if it was NPPA, MD, I'm not going to say what it was. Y'all, I think they saw my expression through the mask, because my eyes did a look like this. Y'all, that's how I had to have looked, because you gonna tell me that you're gonna address this tomorrow, and I just told you this person had an elevated blood pressure of 170 over something, and I guess they could tell my expression through my mask, because they were like, I'm gonna go check it out. And so when they went and checked the patient out and all that, they added an additional BP med twice a day. Y'all, you gotta cover your behind when you're working in these facilities, whether you're the CNA or the nurse, whatever. I'm gonna say specifically the nurses though, because whatever the CNA does, they're doing it basically under your license, under your supervision. So a CNA could take a vital sign, but you have to take it from there to follow up on whatever vitals are done. Like I said, I like to check my own vitals, because I ain't trying to be funny, but I ain't too trusting about no vitals nobody give me. Whether it's another nurse, CNA, or whatever, I'm not too trusting about any vitals anybody give me. So I like to follow up myself, because if I consistently check this person pulse, and they pulse is always 80 to 100, how are you getting a pulse of 60? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. So I like to consistently check my own vitals. And so I'm just saying, as a nurse, you have to cover your behind, because had I not notified that doctor of that elevated blood pressure, and that patient had a stroke, that would have fallen on me. You know what I'm saying? So I made sure my documentation was legit. I made sure I notified the MD, and I put in my notes MD notification made. I also made sure that once I received the new order, that I documented that new order, new BP treatment initiated by this nurse will continue to monitor residents' BP. And I also did a follow-up BP post-administration of that medication. So this, y'all make sure y'all cover y'all behind. And it's a lot, y'all. It really is a lot. I know I make it seem easy, but y'all, it's not easy, because I leave work a lot thinking, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? And what covers me a lot, y'all, I hate to say it like this, but in nursing, they like to say, I hate to say it like this, but I'm going to tell you, this is the honest truth. And it's so sad, because you could be the horrible nurse. You could be a horrible nurse or a horrible CNA, but if your documentation is legit, you good to go. Now, luckily, I'm not going to say luckily, but the place I work has cameras. You can't lie and say you went and checked on a patient 4 or 5 times through your shift, and then the camera shows you only went in the room twice in 12 hours. Like, everything is recorded, but also it protects you, because there are some residents who like to say, no one checked on me all day, no one brought me any food, no one this and this, and those cameras are there to prove that yes, you did check on them consistently out the day, yes, you did bring them food. Like, the cameras can help you as well. And the only thing I really don't like about this is because, y'all, I know I'm going off on a tangent, like, it's okay for the patient to tell a fib on you, and there are no repercussions. No, they could say you did this, you did that, you didn't check on them, you didn't this, you didn't do that, and then the camera could prove otherwise, And this can be a person that's alert and oriented. And there are mean-spirited people out there who just want to get you in trouble because they don't like you. So the camera can prove otherwise that, yes, you did go check on them. Yes, you did. You were giving their meals. Yes, you did take their medication and you took it on time. But if that person lies on you, there are no repercussions for them lying other than, hey, it's part of the job. You're going to get lied on. But say you forget, because you're working with 20-something patients, it's easy to forget. Say you forget to take somebody their 1 o'clock eye drops. You could be fired for delaying treatment because you forgot to administer some eye drops, y'all. So that's why I'm saying just cover your behind, because, but that's in a place with cameras now. That's why I said the cameras can help you. But there are some nurses who will never administer an eye drop all day on a patient. But if they signed, they administered it, it was administered. And that's one of the things that I don't like, because I do feel like there are a lot of nurses who are very neglectful in their duties. And I hate working behind them. But anyway, y'all, I got off on a tangent. All I'm saying is cover your behind, y'all. Cover your behind. It can get scary. If you're a nurse or you're a CNA, if you have trustworthy CNAs, y'all can alternate rounds. Like, you could get up and do the 11 o'clock round. Then your CNA do a 12 o'clock round, lay the eyes on everybody. Then you do the 1 o'clock round. Like, so at least every hour somebody is laying their eyes on the patient, not every 3 to 4 hours, like at least every hour. So you take the even hours, and then the CNA take the odd hours. That way you're not finding somebody expired in the bed at 5 o'clock and nobody laid their eyes on them since 12 o'clock, since midnight, and you're finding them expired in the bed at 5 a.m. because that happens. So yeah, y'all, just cover your behind. That's all I'm gonna say, because it is kind of scary, especially with the way they out here suing nurses, because it's hard to fit everything in a span of 8 or 12 hours when you're working with 25 patients. Sometimes, so for the major things that need to be done, like I'm going to do my treatments, I'm going to get my medication. But if I forget to give you a cup of ice, you just go without that cup of ice. Think about while you're working, what do I need to do to cover my behind if this was to occur, if a year from now a lawsuit is put up, a lawsuit is put against me. Did I cover my behind? Like, did I cover? You got to work every day like somebody might possibly sue you for something. And it's so sad, but it's the truth, y'all. You got to work every day like you could possibly get sued for something. So if that means 30 minutes after your shift in, you're still doing your documentation to make sure everything was addressed, then it is what it is. That's what you have to do. Like, I was over 20 minutes today because I wanted to make sure that I documented everything that occurred. I wanted to make sure I documented everything that was important to document. So, anyways, y'all, I'm about to continue this ride on home. This is my relaxing journey. I like the drive to work and from work. It's so relaxing for me. It helps me clear my mind. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.